if you adopt technology and community and you embrace hyper-personalization and you really tailor the experience to what the customer is asking for, and then you add emerging technology to it, you can beat the biggest of guys with clear vision. And this is something which I love about the iGaming industry.
Welcome to Next.io Spotlight. Next.io is the world's iGaming community, and today I'm joined by Franz Gerhart, an iGaming veteran who knows enterprise tech inside and out. He's the founder of Vyking, a platform that helps operators launch fast, scale smart, and take control of their own tech. Franz has a knack for spotting opportunities in complex challenges and bringing smart, future-ready solutions to life. So, Franz, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here on your podcast.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. And it's awesome because you're actually my second guest of all time, with me taking the kind of ropes of doing spotlight interviews. So it's a great opportunity to learn a bit more about you as well. So, Franz, for those that are discovering Vyking for the first time and watching this episode, what's the big idea behind the platform? What are you trying to set out to change?
Well, first of all, I've been in, as you said, in the iGaming industry for the longest time. It's almost 20 years now, always on the B2B software supplier side. So we've been supplying technology to operators. Started off in poker, transitioned into sports betting and casino, and basically Vyking is doing classical platform development, and we have a lot of very interesting features that will be super relevant to operators, both present and future. And I'm very happy to explore them with you. Back to your question, what's the big idea behind it? Now, I already said we have a standard platform business. So to that regard, our primary goal is to become unnoticeable and highly relevant. So much like when you're asking about the infrastructure that your website runs on, you won't care about it. You don't care the processor that your mobile phone has, or you're likely unaware of how many network requests are being made to render your app. So, but you're 100% dependent on it. And this is exactly how a platform should behave. There should be no dependencies, no bottlenecks, and it needs to be hyper scalable. There is, however, a catch to all of this. Platforms aren't that flexible by design, but the operators are. And to be successful, all that really matters is how much they want to own their product. And we give them the opportunity to own the product. This is what we're about to change, and which we have been doing now for the past almost 10 years in Vyking.
I can totally see the concept and the reason for this. But what would you say were the pain points that you identified that drove you to say this needs to be fixed? This needs more ownership for the operators, for example.
Look, no one ever came to me and told me how beautiful and well-written a stored procedure looks inside of our database. That just didn't happen. It's not the same. Conversely, however, I had so many conversations in which the aesthetics of a button color, border shadow, a gradient, or a banner was discussed. And this is an uphill battle that you cannot win as a platform provider. And traditionally, the websites reside with the platform. So there are templates to choose from. You maybe have a CMS system, and you can do basic content management. And maybe you have some customization options, which are very often limited to change a logo or change a color. And if you just look at how wildly different Asian and European websites look like, it's inevitable that operators need to build their own teams and own the representation layer, which is being the website that they're offering to the customers, hyper-personalize it to them. And if all you get is a template which you have no control of, that resides on a platform that you have no access to, you are not in control. And that needs to be fundamentally fixed. This is our aim.
I think it's probably, this is relatable, this pain point is relatable to almost anyone watching. Every business has a website, and I certainly have had issues with changing backgrounds, changing buttons. It's even the most basic of challenges that still a lot of CMS platforms just don't seem to get right. Not quite sure why that is, but I have this question to you. Why does it still take operators weeks or months to change things like a banner or a background on their site? And how have we let platforms become this rigid? I think it's crazy.
Yeah, on one hand, it's crazy. On the other hand, I think it's a matter of basic input and output. For that matter, also logical consequence. So if you think about it in terms of concurrent and parallel, right? Let's explore those two terms for a moment. Now, concurrency is when I write you an email and then I receive a phone call and I stop writing the email, I answer the call, and then I return to the email. Parallel would be if I clone myself and I write the email whilst my clone is answering the phone. Now, imagine for a moment you have 300 clients. How many clones would you need to handle their requests and fact check the request, make estimates, and consult them? Because essentially, as a platform provider, we're supposed to bring in our knowledge. We should bring our knowledge to the table and make them aware of what they should or should not do according to the experience that we have. So they will always have their opinion, but we should consult them. And then you need to implement these changes. You need to roll them out on staging and production environments. You have hundreds of pipelines that need to be triggered in order to adjust those things and arrive at that outcomes. And the easy answer to all this is, well, it scales with the demand. So if how many parallel means do I need to answer all these questions? Well, with the demand, I'll be scaling. That's maybe true. But if you now add simple economics to the equation, perhaps 10% of the mass clients that you will be attracting as a platform provider performing really well and generate contribution margins. And still, you need to deal with the other 270 from the 300 clients. If you have 10%, you need to deal with the other 270. And you're not scaling linear and then end up in concurrency hell that basically dooms productivity. So let's try to see it this way. So you can charge huge setup fees to compensate for the headache. That's one way of tackling this. You charge a huge setup fee to the customer, so you anticipate the lost productivity that you endure for them not performing well. And then again, we're as a platform, we're in the business of charging setup fees, or are we in the business of charging revenue shares based on real money that they earn? In my book, it's the latter. We're not in the business of charging, or we should not be in the business of charging setup fee. So this is why Vyking is following this boutique approach and is saying no to many deals, but then provide real value to those that are willing to craft their products well for their audiences. And this is basically to answer your question, why have platforms become so rigid? It's a basic input-output issue. If you take on hundreds of clients and only a fraction of them is producing well, you don't have the financial resources to provide the support to all of them. And then you need to just have a limited portfolio for it.
Yeah. And you've described a challenge that many businesses face. And I think now, obviously, in the age, or if we even want to consider it the age of AI, AI is now a bit more of a ubiquitous tool that businesses are starting to use and test and play with and flirt with, even to find a solution to the challenges that you've described. And perhaps they're spending money in the wrong places as well when they're flirting with these ideas. I want to ask you, what's your position on this? What's the reality behind those buzzwords with AI and the buzz trends as well that we have? And what would you say is the real value? Where is the real value when we're talking about AI?
AI is everywhere now. No, I love maths and I love engineering. I have an engineering background and also business background at the same time. Technology, in my estimate, will create abundance eventually, and I believe that we haven't even scratched on the surface of what is possible. These large language models, which you find these days, they improve at an insane pace, and we must make use of them. So there is no doubt about it. When I started programming, well, there was a text editor. You had no fancy code completion. You had no all-in-one developer studios, IDEs, integrated developer environments, as we call them. And they increased development speed incredibly. So, with all these tools and new tooling available, you became a lot faster. Productivity went through the roof. And yet we have machine learning, which is now coming our way to improve that even further. However, it's computationally intense and it requires a lot of energy, resulting in obviously high cost. Unless we solve, or society in general solves the energy consumption, offering an AI agent that puts together like a multi-leg poly in sub-Saharan Africa several times per day may quickly outweigh the lifetime value of the customer, right? So if you put together these heavy AI workloads just to have an agent that brings together these bets for them, it may not be worth the money. So AI in general has a lot of, I would say, valid use cases, and some of which are very perfectly laid out in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. We have recently partnered with them. Oracle is known for the databases, but they also have very large server infrastructure, tier one server infrastructure, which is great because you have to go to the big guys to get it at the most reasonable rates. And they have huge AI, like Gen AI capabilities that we are integrating bit by bit into our platform. There were wonderful use cases for this. I'll come to this in a moment. To the detriment of our marketing team, however, I'm very much against shipping our platform with a chatbot solution and then call it AI something. I'm not doing this. It's ridiculous, right? Just because you have a chatbot, you cannot call yourself AI ready. Under the hood, however, there is exciting things that you can do. Think about PLTV, like predicted day zero lifetime value calculations, and for sophisticated retention models, and also for bidirectional communication with advertisers, with affiliates. This is something which, together with all these Gen AI capabilities that many of the platforms have, which became a reality. And this is where is the real value, understanding the customer very early on and make sure that you extract the value that you want to extract in time and offer the right products. And just to have it said, we also have the chatbot.
Mm. And I think this definitely relates to what we talked about off camera, actually. Considering that AI should be seen as a tool in many cases, you have a Lego analogy when you're thinking about tooling. What does that mean in practice for you? And why would you say this modular Lego approach works so well for operators?
I had the pleasure of dealing with many founders over the years. And the successful ones, first of all, they don't like to be told what they can do, and they particularly don't like to hear what they cannot do. And entrepreneurial people have vision. That's a very core characteristic of how they behave. And you have to grant them that. I've seen people that exactly knew how something should look like. They don't, or they may not have the tech vocabulary to express it well, or maybe unable to write structured outlines, but they know what they want. And now we are back at the concurrency topic. So imagine you have that highly motivated visionary with their clear perspective, the willingness to dedicate 80 plus hours a week into it, and we just don't care because we have another 299 just like them, and we couldn't be bothered with what they're saying. And instead of running into this concurrency or parallelism issue, we need to give them the technology and the blank canvas, the building blocks that encapsulate all that heavy lifting, these things that are really complicated to implement, very heavy business logic, and let them strive. That's the idea behind it. You give them the building blocks, and Lego is a very good analogy because that's what it essentially is, and let them, with all this encapsulated heavy business logic inside, build what they need to succeed in their markets. This is the approach.
And I think this is a good opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into what Vyking does and what Vyking offers. So you have three distinct platform models. You have Core, you have Edge, and you have Flex. So could you break down some of those key differences and perhaps who each one of those three different models are built for?
You have to look at the trajectory, like the milestones between the growth trajectory of an operator. And if you look at the bigger picture, operators must take care of important topics. And these include, I would say, 6 core components, right? There is the regulatory aspect, which I think we all know. There's the statutory, where you set up company and banking. There's technology, which is basically us, platform and tooling. You have operations, just customer support, BI, and so on, vendor relations, like getting the contracts with all your vendors in place, and you have marketing. If you look at Core is a managed solution where everything is covered for but marketing. So we take care of all the regulatory, statutory, technological, and so on matters, and the customer eventually ends up with taking care of the marketing. That is their primary goal: get the players on the brand, make sure that they have a visually appealing, nice front end, that they really offer the right thing to the right people in the right market. And then Edge is kind of the next step, where you take the regulatory, statutory, and vendor-related topics under your wings. So you would gain control and really own business-related matters that are relevant in your market. And Flex is available with either of them. So at your call, we fork the code, hand it over, provide instructions, and you bring your vision to life. That is basically the three different things. So you either have a managed solution in core where you take care of the marketing only. Edge will hand over to you all the I would say, regulatory, statutory, and vendor-related topics. So you really owning your business, and Flex lets you eventually take care of the visual representation of anything that your customers would perceive. And this then totally liberates you. This is the idea behind those three models.
Yeah, feels like modular yet complementary, almost like that Lego analogy work in action, actually. Let's go a little bit deeper into each one of those models in a bit more depth. So if I'm launching my brand and it's the first time I've ever done this, I'm a lean team, what would you say makes core a smarter, faster way of going live without drowning in that complexity? Because gosh, I've tried to design a website even for my own sort of personal interests, and it is hard. It is really hard.
It is. It is. The slogan that we are having with launch fast, scale smart, take control is not just a slogan, it's a mindset. So you need many ideas that you can fail with fast in order to see what works. And I'm seeing many that spend all their money on acquiring a white label, paying those huge setup fees, and get it ready with nothing left for marketing and no flexibility to prove their hypothesis, because you have a hypothesis based on assumptions that you're making, knowledge that you gain. If you go into the core side of things, right, the managed solution, you have a native crypto processing solution integrated. So there is no middleman. It's your wallet, it's your full control. There's plenty of content and tooling. We give you all the relevant games. You have a sports betting included. There's risk management part of it, support, especially customer support as well. There is CRM systems part of the deal, and of course a template website. And the most important, there is an awesome crew of people that will onboard you well. And all you need is a desire to market and grow. So core is at par with competition. Just like them, we integrate best-in-class content and tooling, but on top of that, you can go to market almost immediately. And then, depending on the market you're entering, there's payment processing solutions that need to be integrated further. There's more tooling maybe required and more content required. But the base layout, the managed solution, that can be deployed within days.
And so then if I'm imagining myself as a faster scaling operator, but I don't have a dev team, I have big ambitions though, what does the edge model give me that white labels can't?
Yeah, very clearly ownership. So yes, administration is a burden until you outgrow the financial constraints that come along with running your own legal infrastructure. If I tell you right now you are two people and you want to start a white label and you have to incorporate a company and make sure that you sustain all the, all the requirements that there are from whatever it is, you have to have accountants, you have to have administration, you have to have licensing and so on. It may be too much. But from again, an economic perspective, until 1 million monthly GGR, turnkey is certainly a bug and not a feature. But the break-even metrics are simple. So once you outweigh the cost of 3 to 4 trusted people with the added control of owning your business, it's certainly worth doing it. So I understand that I'm implying here that, in a way where you say, take your control of your platform, generate 1 million GGR, be in charge of the agreements, I'm implying that we shouldn't be trusted here, in the sense that we as a platform, we are supplying you all these managed solutions, but then once you grow over and above a certain threshold, you should take it on by yourself. So we're no longer stable or trusted. But that's not the truth. If you were to onboard with any of our turnkey partners, I rest assured you will receive an outstanding service, and I can vouch for that. But if they get sold along the way to a group that just arbitrarily increases your fees and or discontinues valuable content, what do you do? So when you're scaling and you're scaling across a certain threshold, edge is not optional. You need to be in control of the vendor relationships, of the legal side of things, of the licensing, of the content agreements. And that is what edge is really for.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And then if we think about your Flex product, which from a newbie like me, I would consider it the most powerful of the three. It gives source code access, modular backends, no roadmap dependency. So who would you say are the customers, individuals, entrepreneurs, businesses that are ready for Flex? What are they building with it, and how do you support them?
First of all, I would call it an invitation instead of an offer. Right? There is no
Mm-hmm.
cost attached to it. There's just lots of opportunity. Everyone who has one visionary, one product manager, one designer, and one engineer is ready for Flex. So you need essentially four
Okay.
people that have strong vision, strong market and product understanding, are good in design, and can implement those things which you envision. You're ready for Flex, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's there from the get go. It's there in core. It's there in Edge. It's just ready at your call. We're providing, if needed, end to end, right? So we can set up the development teams. We can manage them for you. We can project manage them, and you basically just you get them built at cost, or you take components and training. That is another way of doing it. So if you're saying, okay, initially I want to design my own thing, I want to have my development team, which is dedicated to me, we can even onboard the people in our own organization with our own infrastructure and just build them at cost, and you take them over eventually when you're ready. So end to end is possible, components is possible, training is possible. And it's really on a case by case basis. Website makes the most sense to start off with. So in Flex, your only enemy that you're having is feature creep. That's your biggest problem. So if you start building out a roadmap with 10,000s of features, which only two the customer really wants, that is the only impediment that you're having, that you can envision with the visionary's perspective too many things which are not relevant for the market. Other than that, um, you can pretty much do whatever you like, but you get it with and without Flex. You typically get us providing our years of expertise and management methodology around those software products. So we will be there if you take on, if you have your own roadmap, if you have your own developers, you need guidance on how you implement certain features or how relevant they are. We are always there to guide the people through the decision-making process. Some of the features we have maybe implemented and deleted, some of the features we have explored and discarded for certain reasons. So there is a large portfolio and a large wiki of projects and processes which we have either abandoned or discontinued, which is a great resource also to learn for those willing to embark on the Flex journey, what would and would not work and for what reason. So that is something which we're also providing alongside our solutions.
That's a new phrase for me. Did you say feature creep? Is that what I heard
Feature
correctly?
creep, yeah.
Feature creep. Is that something that plagues quite a few businesses, developers? Is that something that is quite common?
I had a product manager once come to me, and we were discussing and deliberating about ideas, and then he said, "So how many can you implement?" And said, and then I returned the question. I said, "How many do you have?" And he said, "I have more than you will ever have people implementing them, and I can get your project management system full to the extent where it's unusable." And it's true. The guy was just like that. He had so many ideas, and then you need to have the expertise. You need to get there, see, okay, what's the business impact? How long does it take to implement it? How many customers would benefit from it? What do we believe is the real value to it? Can we test it? Do we have quantitative or qualitative analysis to really challenge that idea? Is there someone whom we can interview to it? And that is often, if you have a good product manager, it's a person which is highly vetted by the C-level or the decision makers. Because if you see a visionary which has great ideas and the ability to even create visuals out of this, it's
Mm.
this is such a skill to have. And then you see these good ideas emerge, and all you're saying is, "Great, let's do them." And you start losing focus on what your customers actually want. So that is
Yeah.
circumscribing the feature creep. We've seen many times happening, and then you're no longer focusing on the relevant things. But all in
Yeah.
all, if you leave feature creep aside, Flex is the solution to hyper personalize a website to your customers' needs. And so, even with feature creep, it's a great thing. And I think every company in the industry should embark on it.
Interesting. It's a new phrase for me. I love it. And when we're thinking about your core edge and flex products, do you see it as a bit of a journey where operators move through the stages, or do we just jump into one and then kind of hope for the best? And how does that work?
It, it is an evolutionary path, as indicated earlier, and there is a baseload of stuff required to run Flex, as we pointed out. So if you have 3 to 4 highly motivated people, even two, like where they encapsulate both roles, are sufficient. However, there's a base load of stuff that you need in order to implement Flex. And the beauty is that you don't need to do it sequentially. Flex is an option both in core and edge. If you're owning the statutory part of your, if owning the statutory part of your business is irrelevant to you, and you're saying like, I trust everyone. I don't care if they're managing my funds or if they are the legal entity behind it or where the license is and so on. You can have all the benefits of Flex in your core deployment. You don't need to go for edge. That's true benefit of it.
Amazing. And I think in the last few moments that we have together, I would love to talk about this concept of reverse integration that we've talked about previously off camera. Tell me, what exactly is it? How does it change that sort of operator-supplier relationship?
We see ourselves as a framework, really. So our framework is inviting people to build beautiful applications on top of it. And so much like open sourcing the front end to anyone willing to build a beautiful application on top of our framework, there's plenty of tooling that you need on the backend side of things. Most importantly, content. Content is very common. If we were to integrate every studio that is relevant in every market, all the resources in the industry would be enough. So instead we do all the very same thing that we do on the front end also for the backend. You bring your team, you connect to a content studio to the Vyking infrastructure with the technology of your choice and be independent of our roadmap. This is the important part. You have a default interface on our side, which is very much adapted to the interfaces of the other content suppliers in the industry. You build the connected technology in between. You ship it within a container that encapsulates your code. We map it into our infrastructure and away you go. And that you can do fully independent. Again, not be a bottleneck. That's the core idea.
Compared to typical platforms or traditional platforms, how does this compare in terms of speed, especially when you're offering that front-end customization and UX freedom? How much faster is it?
Fast is just one metric to look at. We previously had that with the core. So if you want your crypto casino up and running, we're talking days. And the days is just because there is a lot of domain configuration, branding, designing, and so on, which has to be implemented. And that's mostly on the customer side. So for us, it's very quick to do it. Opening the backend to third-party development teams and giving away front-end source code that receives perpetual upstream updates and upgrades are two sides of the same token, but they're not really connected. So on the one end, you have the third-party content integrations, and on the other side, you have the front end. But they're both gateways to having beautiful applications with the relevant content and the great tooling to provide outstanding user experience, because that's what you want to achieve. If you enter a market and the only games you have available are from a certain content provider, but you need 4 others, which are in high demand, think of Gamomat in Germany or PGSoft in Brazil, and you don't have them, you need to have them integrated as soon as possible. The website can be as beautiful as you like, you still need to have the content. And in all reality, a platform may not be interested. PGSoft is a great example. PGSoft is a beautiful game content studio which works in many markets, but maybe none of those markets are markets that Vyking is interested in. If the customer then needs the content, we're not willing to allocate resources, they can do it on their own. They don't need to wait on our roadmap. We're not blocking.
And I think this nicely brings us on to the final section of our interview, which I would like to talk about what you see as the future of the industry and the iGaming infrastructure as well. Because what I believe is that you are enabling a future for many entrepreneurs, businesses, and people who have a vision, essentially. So I want to ask you, Franz, what excites you most about the future of iGaming, or more specifically, iGaming tech?
I think first and foremost the pace in which this industry is changing. If you look
Mm.
at a couple of years back, or 10 years back, you had a few dominant brands in the industry. No one heard of Shuffle, no one heard of Stake. Now they're the dominant brands around. So if you adopt technology and community and you embrace hyper personalization and you really tailor the experience to what the customer is asking for, and then you add emerging technology to it, you can beat the biggest of guys with a clear vision. And this is something which I love about the iGaming industry. You see constant change. There is no stagnation. And so there's also so much technology that other industries have not even thought of adopting, which are mainstream in iGaming now. If you look at WebSockets, by 2020, hardly anyone is, even by 2025, hardly anyone in other industries is using them. For us, they're everywhere. And so there is technologies which we're embracing and which we're using because of the various circumstances that we have in regulatory circumstances, not being able to enter all the phone ecosystems like iOS, for example. So there's solutions tech solutions that we're embracing very fast that no other industry does at this pace. And that's what really excites me about the future of this industry. The past, the present, and the future, to be quite fair.
Yeah, I concur, and especially from an iGaming veteran like yourself, I can totally hear you on that one. And I've only been in the industry, a few years, so I hear you on that. If you had the power to shape or rewrite the future, how would you reshape or rewrite the rules on how platforms and operators work together? What would you do differently?
Oh, that's a hard one.
We don't do easy questions here.
I think no compartmentalization. That is the number one thing for me. If you're talking about platforms and operators, right? So there's this continuum where you find those two, and very often they take antagonist roles. So operations doesn't see the technical complexity, IT doesn't see the operational issues that you can have with tech not working accordingly. And so if one has an issue, the other one has it too. And we need to realize and appreciate that. And there are plenty of things that can break at any given time for no reason and without your control. Think about payment integrations and payment methods becoming unavailable. Quality of traffic sources, the conversion funnel, right? There's things that can fail, and just because marketing fails for the operator, which is outside the control of the platform, doesn't mean it doesn't affect the platform. You need to make available different landing pages. You need to make sure that the operator is able to compete. And so if you implement or if you foster a mindset of compartmentalization, where there's one compartment and the other, which are fully independent and they have no stake in the other, that's toxic. And that is, I believe, what I would rewrite in my book. So also, I would like for both of them to always come to the table with the homework done, like aware of the complexities and the many moving parts that every party is dealing with. Solutions can be identified then much quicker. I understand the pain points of the other party. And this can be acquiring traffic, retaining traffic, payment processing, cost of payment processing solutions, cost of content, bonus abuse. Huge topic, bonus abuse. I think we could talk 5 hours straight just on risk and fraud related matters. So if you're not sitting isolated by yourself and only take care, you have to see the bigger picture. And if I could rewrite the rules of how platforms and operators come together, there would be no compartmentalization. It's one business. With every of your operators, you one business.
I'll join you in that campaign. I would love to break down silos as much as I possibly could. So I'm thinking about the future of Vyking. What would you say is the one key guiding principle of everything that you do and build at Vyking? What keeps you going? What builds that future for Vyking?
I'm afraid I have to repeat myself here. I said it a couple of times already. There's one thing, and one thing that has been driving me for, I think, the last 10 years, and that is don't be a bottleneck. Self-service everywhere. Don't be a bottleneck. Once you're a bottleneck, you are barring customers from being successful. Let them take ownership in their technology. Let them have a say in how the product looks like. Let them shape it. Let them be proud of it. We provide a framework. If you go back to the very start of our conversation, there was basically this term that I called become unnoticeable and highly relevant. Right?
Yeah.
You should not be noticeable. There should not be okay, here we go again. This takes 10 months to develop. Let them understand you're not a bottleneck and give them the self-service opportunity. No one runs a business like you as an operator. You're the person who's driving it, and we provide a framework, but we don't operate the brand. Right? You can never have like the emotion that I have for the Vyking brand, the dedication, the work, the day and night work, the getting the team at a point, aligning them on the vision and the future of the company. I can have it from my brand, but I cannot have it for 10 operators, right? So naturally there has to be something that the operator is strongly focusing on, and they can only focus on it if they have the right tooling in place. And that is the self-service capabilities, and that we're not a bottleneck or impediment to that.
Here, here. I love that ethos. It feels to me empowering and liberating without having ego. It feels almost egoless in that sort of world of business where I think if you allow an ego to overtake, that's when a bottleneck also comes in, when you have that ego to drive you. So it feels like a really wonderful ethos that you have at Vyking. And with that, Franz, I will leave the final message over to you. If you have any final message that you would like to say to our audience, I'll leave the floor over to you.
Brilliant. I mean, first of all, we are exhibiting at the upcoming Sigma EuroMed event in Malta, so I'm sure we'll meet there, and I'm very happy to meet you in person there. We're at stand 2020, so if anyone is heading there, come and find us. We'll love to connect and talk tech and how we can support the business and build something at Vyking together with you, or anyone who is willing to adopt technological change and take on a platform for the business. So that is one thing that I wanted to say. And we're very happy to explore opportunities. Vyking not only offers this default solution like Coverage Flex that we have, we also have very specific products in place like content aggregation. Naturally, as a platform, you also have these side products in place like content aggregation and many payment processing aggregations, which is all modules, so they can be supplied standalone from the platform. Anyone interested in that, that would also be like one of the closing remarks I want to make. That is obviously also available. So meet us at Sigma, get content, get any of our solutions, get payment solutions to your product. We're on all frontiers, and they're dedicated to see people thrive.
Thanks so much, Franz. I can vouch that a conversation with Franz is an opportunity to talk in depth and intelligently about the iGaming industry or tech or pretty much anything. I think you're going to get a really intelligent conversation with Franz. So thank you so much for being a part of Spotlight. Thank you so much for being a part of my second interview with Spotlight as well. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks so much.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Stuart, for having me.
My pleasure too. Thank you.